here. Let's see. So I'm Tim Guiterman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of InfiSense. I'm a building systems engineer by trade, and my career has been devoted to solving many of the problems shown here. I firmly believe that these are some of society's most pressing challenges. And specifically, my clients have been these stakeholders: building owners, operators, and utilities. And I have worked for them to make our buildings, facilities, and our grid more sustainable, more energy efficient, healthy, and resilient. And what I have experienced firsthand is that this group of stakeholders urgently needs solutions to these complex real-world challenges. And the way this works in practice is that they turn to a wide variety of B2B service providers to address these. And this group includes everything from software platforms that serve billions of square feet of real estate to middle market engineering firms that help facility managers and operators save energy and optimize processes. And this is where I spent my career, working for these B2B service providers. I know their workflows, I know their struggles, and what makes them successful. And these are InfiSense's customers. They are the heroes the world needs today. But our heroes have a myriad of problems. The foundational challenge is that they can't get the data they need. They're looking for solutions to help them remotely monitor real-time data with wireless sensors. And as someone who personally lived this pain, I can assure you that when our customers look to the market for solutions, they find the present day options don't meet their technical requirements. Their workflows and their data needs are ignored. No one is designing solutions for them. And this leads them to try and do it themselves, which leaves every single one of these businesses wasting money and time doing the same heavy lifting just to get the data. And I want to be clear, for the vast majority of businesses, this is impossible. They do not have the time, they don't have the skills or the resources to become experts in technology that is far beyond their core competency. Without InfiSense, there's a huge gap between sensors and actionable data. And if you zoom in on this heavy lifting problem, it's dramatic and it's painful. Now just put yourself in the shoes of one of these heroes. They wake up every day to do their job, to save the world, not to become experts in wireless sensors or networking or cloud infrastructure. These companies want to focus on what they do best, and they really can't afford to waste money and waste time. And if they don't save the day, we will all suffer. Now, InfiSense tackles all these issues head on. We turn everyday heroes into superheroes. We leverage a new and disruptive technology. It's called LoRa, and it's not an industry buzzword. It's really revolutionary. It's an open ecosystem of long-range wireless sensors that have the superpowers the world needs today. It's the ability to send data for miles, to punch through walls and floors, communicate reliably deep indoors and outdoors, operate free from local IT networks, and last for years on a single battery. And we make it all work like magic with software that provides clean, consistent, and actionable data. Our customers describe the experience of working with us as stress-free, enjoyable, and easy. They are willing to pay us to avoid the challenges and the pain that come with deploying and managing massive data sets from the real world. And we make money by selling the data. We also resell OEM devices, and our customers install those sensors themselves and pay us to ensure the data is always there. Now, the data we provide and the data sets we're amassing are also exponentially valuable, and we have plans to monetize that, including device health statistics, third-party insurance providers, and aggregate data sets from specific use cases and verticals. But let's first walk through some quick customer examples. So in the indoor ag market, our customers are using wireless sensors to obtain high density microclimate data above and below plant canopies, identifying issues, optimizing yield, and reducing the energy in the water required to grow more, increasing yields by 5 to 15%, generating multi-million-dollar returns for growers. And we are not holding the hands of the growers. We're powering leading B2B software platforms that combine InfiSense's data with their cultivation expertise, analytics, and machine learning. Now, our grid is changing right before our eyes. Our buildings need to become interactive virtual power plants. So grid operators and utilities are tasking our customers to go get the data to understand how all this works together. And as we speak, leading energy firms are using InfiSense's sensors and data to monitor exactly how and when electric heat pumps are being used across hundreds of sites throughout the Northeast. And they deliver accurate load forecasts to these grid operators. Now, another leading energy efficiency firm has deployed InfiSense in hundreds of homes and businesses across Brooklyn and Queens to monitor the impact of retrofits across the New York City grid. And the challenges to do this were steep. The old ways of doing this would mean not getting this data for over a year. And we let them get the data without ever stepping foot in the buildings. We've made it so easy for these companies to obtain data from hard to reach places. Now they can go focus on what they do best. And there is a massive market opportunity at hand here. The technology ecosystem we enable has $64 billion in vertical specific applications and is growing at a rapid rate. Practically speaking, we could serve B2B service providers and net 24 million in ARR with the core API product that we offer today. But expanding our capabilities and developing solutions higher up the stack opens our addressable market and expands our revenue potential. We have established product market fit. We have reached impressive scale with customers deploying at over 550 sites throughout North America. And we emerge from the very beachhead customer segments that we now serve. And this experience and expertise has proven invaluable. We doubled our revenue from last year. We raised money and expanded our team and customers. And our customers have built their data-driven businesses on our product. Not only are we sticky, but our depth and our breadth mean that we can monetize our solution in a way that our competitors simply cannot. And our pipeline reflects this advantage, and we are preparing for significant scale and growth. Now, perhaps some of you are wondering, what's different now? Why hasn't this happened before? Well, first, launching a company like this 5 to 10 years ago was a disadvantage. The economics and the technology evolutions today have enabled an entire new category of data, something we've never seen before. And this long-range LoRa technology really is revolutionary. Right in front of our eyes, we're witnessing a viral explosion that is unprecedented. Here you're looking at a map of New York City. Every green dot is a physical gateway or a hotspot. Now, these are not Wi-Fi hotspots. Each one of them is providing miles of coverage specifically for long-range LoRa sensors. I don't have the time to go into all the details here, but our partner Helium has burst onto the scene and incentivized network coverage with cryptocurrency rewards. And the takeaway here, ubiquitous coverage is a reality. Our customers can now rely on existing infrastructure, dramatically reducing upfront costs. We can offer solutions at lower costs, driving more sensing and more ARR. And this network needs us. And to that end, 2 of the C-suite executives from Helium have written personal checks into our last fundraising round. Now, the magic of offering a flexible data product and a real differentiator between other point solutions and us is that we can observe how the data is being used and build solutions that tackle the most common use cases. And that is where we're going. With our next round of funding, we will build these capabilities, expand our addressable markets, and drive higher premiums and more ARR. Now, when we applied to the Cleantech Open in April, we were a team of 2. We have now assembled a powerhouse team of experts, deep backgrounds in connected devices, energy markets, precision ag, controls, and instrumentation. We come from the markets we serve. We know how to solve complex real-world problems, and we know the value of easy data. And while not shown here, we also have started with a small but impressive advisory board representing ag, tech, and sensor spaces. We also know our competition cold because we've used it ourselves. And we know that unlike their hardware-first proprietary approaches and one sensor to one app models, our focus on data for cross-cutting use cases makes engineers and analysts love us. We raised $750 this spring, immediately expanded our team. Now we're seeking $3 million to move fast and smart. The disruptive viral explosion of Helium validates everything we've worked on, and we find ourselves in the pole position. We'll make key hires that allow us to offer new products, expand our addressable market, and our customer base, and offer them new tools and more self-service, driving more ARR. Now, when it comes to exits, right now, we're focused on creating a great company with strong cash flow. However, we see many examples of 5 to 10x acquisitions in this space. We believe that with the explosive growth in the LoRa ecosystem, consolidation up and down the tech stack is likely to occur in the next 3 years. We also know that the highest likelihood of acquisition is from a partner. And to that end, we're working on partnerships with companies that have made acquisitions in the buildings and control space, other partners in the LoRa ecosystem, and more generally in the IoT space. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Tim. Right on time. and the judges will get spotlighted. And go ahead, if there's a judge ready to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Yeah, I guess
Thanks,
I can start.
Go ahead, Chloe.
Thanks. I guess I'm wondering a bit more about that cryptocurrency relationship. I'm used to thinking of crypto as requiring quite a lot of energy, and you're targeting, some of these sustainability markets. I guess, how are you thinking about, why did you choose to use this cryptocurrency partner? And does that impact your sustainability, your internal sustainability metrics?
Yeah, so amazing phenomenon here. Very first, every one of those hotspots, those gateways, uses the equivalent energy of an LED light bulb. That's it. They're just barely sipping power. They're talking to the cloud and mining their own blockchain. It's, again, the company is called Helium. And it's a really revolutionary, disruptive way to provide hardware that is needed to solve this problem. I mean, in the IoT space in general, there's this upfront barrier to paying for hardware and sensors. And if you can incentivize people to own that hardware because they make money by having it send sensor data and build the network the way they want the network to be built, and that's how the incentive model works, then it's something that we've never seen. And so we have a great relationship. We're both driving more business on top of that network because it lowers upfront costs. We have that investment I spoke of on the personal basis from executives at the company. And we just see an unbelievable opportunity to offer solutions that are, again, 25, 50% plus cost reduced, because in many cases, the network coverage just simply is already there. So it's really great. It doesn't affect that sustainability because it doesn't use a lot of energy to power those nodes or those gateways, so to speak.
Bhargavi, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yes, great job, Tim. That was a great presentation. Wondering if you can double click a little bit on your competitors and go into, you don't have to take them out by name, but can you just explain again why your product is more better based?
Sure. Yeah. So a few things. First, coming from this space, having crawled around buildings, collecting data, and plus co-founders and initial strategic investors, we're talking decades of just life in buildings, collecting data. And the options start at the not connected, the status quo. Sadly, for a lot of the leading firms that are fighting, climate change and doing energy efficiency and decarbonization in our built environment, they're using unconnected data loggers, meaning I put a battery-powered device in the world, I leave it alone, I come back 6 months or a year later, and I plug individually into my computer and download a CSV. That still continues to be a large state of the art, because what happens is when you make the jump to wireless sensing, it's a complex technology stack. I mean, just think about 200 different sites around America, or 1,000, or even just 10. Making sure everything's online. Do you use local Wi-Fi? All these things. And so the status quo and the competitors that we seem to be up against have all those deficiencies. They're either this fancy dashboard, this overbaked product, and no one builds for the workflows of these B2B service providers. And by going API first and having a core, elegantly simple product that just focuses on the data, there's a real differentiator that they appreciate, recognize, and continue to use us for.
Great, thanks.
Lou, go ahead.
Hey, love the enthusiasm and thrilled to hear that LoRa's become real. I've been shouting narrowband from the rooftops for about a decade now. It seems, I'm glad people have caught up. One of the things that reminds me, I guess there was a company that was using LoRa for, I think it was more industrial than commercial buildings applications that Constellation had looked at a couple of years ago. And I've also seen, obviously, a dozen different folks that have done various kinds of wireless stuff and looked at site controls, probably 15 years ago, which was deliberately targeting dashboards for the parent, not the building managers and so forth. So a lot of things you're saying resonate with learnings in the marketplace and they make a lot of sense, but at the same time, they don't feel entirely novel on the one hand. And I'm not sure that entirely novel is required. And I'm not going to ask you to, say why you're that novel. But my biggest concern always is it's really hard to sell. And so I love that you've lowered a lot of barriers and you're serving the needs better. But can you talk more about selling? And is it just that the cost of setup is so low, or are there other reasons that you're able to sell?
Yeah, all really valid points, and our entire business model and selling strategy has come from customer discovery and our own experience. So what we found is that it's just about getting people started. So we can, we take away all of this friction, and just you could have a simple gateway and sensors, or in this case now with Helium, which literally didn't exist when we applied to CTO. We can just send sensors to people in many cases, and the data's there. Like, they just turn on the sensor, and a few minutes later, there's data. That alone is still blowing the minds of the market, because it really doesn't exist. They don't have to do crazy integrations and all of this stuff. And even the companies that want to take data from the API and have a deeper integration into a platform, I kid you not, numerous times companies, we've sent them the first sensors and then it's under an hour. They're just like, oh yeah, we've got all the data, great. It's in our analytics tool, it's in our platform, it's in our software. So there's this concept of just starting small and starting simple. And it's also, what's unique about LoRa is that it's this open ecosystem. So there's second and third source and multiple OEMs with multiple different devices to solve these different problems. Because what we heard and what we lived was that these point solutions out there where it's like, I just do this one thing, but then, I want to sense this other thing. And now I need to go figure out a whole nother company, a vendor, a network of technology. Like, it's crazy. And we're like the Plaid, Twilio, and Stripe. Like, hey, there's all this complexity over here with wireless sensing. Why don't you just get it in one API and just build your business on it? And that's, we found, made it much easier for us to sell, land and expand, and move faster.
So it really is multiple layers of the low entry barrier, that it's not baffling or frustrating that you have ubiquitous connectivity. It's like, what it sounded like to me was, when Nest came out, it was offering the same functionality as a Honeywell, but nobody could use their Honeywell. And I'm wondering if, this seems richer than that, but are we on that kind of track, that it's not the fundamental functionality that's novel, but the ease of using it for the appropriate users?
I think it's both of those, though. I think we shouldn't underestimate the power of this newer LoRa technology, and that it's very complex and unwieldy to figure it out yourself. And so there is superpowers in that technology itself. Communicating long distances, punching through walls and floors, going up to the roof and the basement, getting the same sensors connected. These are just on the ground, real world problems that you just don't understand until you try to, get data out of a building. And so the technology plus making it work and simplifying it, those things combined just seem to be a very sticky product.
Time for maybe one more question or so.
Are you cleaning the data? And when you're doing that, how are you doing that better than others?
So this data is, fresh, coming from these sensors, and it's delivered raw. Like, it doesn't need to be necessarily cleaned. It is, and I've dealt with lots of unclean data.
So maybe then spin that question. How about all the sensors that are out there that aren't working right and aren't clean? How do you integrate with those?
So, we do two things. So LoRa is, I'm going to put out a new fresh sensor into this, or I'm going to pull a signal off of a sensor. If you're familiar, like a voltage or a 4 to 20 milliamp or whatever. And when you do that, then that signal is going to come in, and it's going to be, it's going to be timestamped and as clean as it's coming off there. And you can enrich the data and mix signals, but I've dealt with messy data, and most of that is from, tying into existing IT systems where things are controlled through other protocols. And we've tended to stay above that and not have that problem.
All right. With that, judges time is over. Thank you. Judges go off and score. Tim, hang on the screen here for just a moment. There are a couple of questions. There's one from Richard Fennelly from the Coil Cleaning Consortium. Maybe this is an opportunity for customer discovery. He goes, Tim, are you looking at detecting the need for routine maintenance in the cooling sector, fridges, freezers, AC, to cut unneeded indirect emissions?
Yeah, so actually when I mentioned in a slide about kind of moving up the stack a little and offering some solutions, because we continue to see customers do similar things. And HVAC is a huge one. And HVAC predictive maintenance and filter pressures and discharge temperatures, just literally status on off. These are massive opportunities. And when you combine LoRa's capabilities plus something like helium, which means in every major city right now and growing beyond that is every rooftop pretty much is simply covered already. We're looking at a lot of that cooling, AC and HVAC predictive maintenance. And we also, we just delivered a large proposal to a very large firm around exactly those use cases. And we see more every day.
Great.
Happy to chat too.
And Raj asks, how do you differentiate your device from so many LoRa communication devices in the IoT space?
Yeah, we don't make our own hardware. We paid those dues. We started in this business like many. We made our own hardware, end-to-end stack, all that. And then we realized it's a commoditizing ecosystem. And look at supply chain. Why don't we second and third source things, which we do on an everyday basis, and take advantage of the dynamic things and let the hardware people do what they do best. And just like, Twilio, Plaid, Stripe, we just enable a complex ecosystem and simplify that. So that way we don't have to differentiate on the device side. We're all about the data.
Good. All right. And we'll take the final question from Andrew Sicola. If I buy a device to help relay the information for others as a service, would I get paid for that service? Similar to the helium miners business model. Can you address that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
not outside the scope.
No, it's mixing a little two things. We could probably talk separately, but yeah, helium enables you to make money by hosting one of these hotspots, and then you mine more with the more data that flows over. So now there's incentives to have data collection and data sensing with LoRa devices near your hotspot if you own one. So it's really changed the game, and that's actually more money will be made on that over time than the current model, which is about building the network right now.